Good morning, everybody. Welcome to, and this is a webinar just for subscribers. So it's just for our special people to show you how Asset-Map is evolving for you and for your clients. And yeah, and what we're really excited about is we see this Asset-Map thing as being some global best practice, or being best practice from the US, which is overlapping with some best practice from South Africa, and it's creating this awesome global best practice advice framework. And I especially love for people that BRAAI. Yeah, and we've been teaching the Americans all about BRAAIing and about Boerewors, and so we have lots of fun with them. Adam struggles with even the easiest of our names. I think he still calls Louis Lewis, and Yaku Shaku, or something to that effect. So Yaku, you out there? Thanks, man. Yeah, so again, thanks to Yaku. I think I buggered up the link this morning, and so hopefully the rest of the people that committed to spend this time will be able to still get online. Yeah, and we're excited to spend this time with you. So please feel free to use the chat box or the Q&A box. Kirsty will do her best to manage that. Yeah, and any questions that we don't get to, we'll certainly respond to you after the session. So keep the engagement going. We're really happy with that. So Kirsty, you're welcome to pause me if there's something that you think we need to address in the session. But Benny will be with us presently. He is running sort of 10 minutes late, so we can rag him about that when he arrives. And other than that, I think we can kick off. I'm going to start with a quick shout out from Adam. So as you know, Adam is he's the American dude. He's the founder and the CEO of Asset-Map, and he put together a 2-minute video to say how's it. So first, tell me if it works. Tell me if you can hear it.
Gary, we can't hear it.
Damn, that's a pain. See, lucky. Share sound. Okay, there we go. Let's try again.
Yeah.
Go.
Hello to all my fellow financial planners and advisors in South Africa. This is Adam Holt, CEO and founder of Asset-Map, coming at you from the United States, wanting to thank you personally for all the support that you've given us in these adventurous times with Asset-Map in the early days. You know, we've touched thousands of households with your help, and I think that's really a great testament to the effort that we've all made to make this happen. You know, just last week, we won again the #1 financial specialty in financial planning accolade from wealthmanagement.com. And we're really excited because we know it's really about you and, of course, the work you're doing in the field supporting families that's really giving us that accolade. So thank you so much for being part of this. You know, Kirsty, Benny, and Gary have been working probably around the BRAAI tirelessly to make your experience top notch. And we're really excited to know that we're going to be continuing to invest in supporting your bespoke practice in basically ways to deliver more value to your customers. Thanks so much for being part of this. Make sure you stay in touch. Give us the feedback that we need to keep growing in the right direction. And of course, thanks for being part of this journey.
Okay, thanks, Adam. We had to tutor him for many weeks to say BRAAI. We were trying to get him to roll the R, but that never came through. So we're a bit sad about that. BRAAI. Anyway, so we're going to focus this presentation on 5 areas, and these 5 areas we're hoping will show you the step changes that Asset-Map has taken to evolve to be a framework and a platform that is more and more appropriate for you as a South African planner and for your clients, obviously, as predominantly South African clients. See if I can hide myself. Myself is very distracting, looking back at me. So anyway, I've hidden myself. You're on mute, Kirst. Okay, so the five things that we want to focus on to show you how AssetMap has evolved in the South African context. So the first one relates specifically to your client data security and the steps that we've taken to ensure that your client data is as safe as possible. The next one is relevance. So how has AssetMap taken steps forward from a language perspective to increase that relevance for the South African client? The next one is relatability. And we're gonna speak to you about sample maps and sample maps, especially for South African clients, and how these sample maps can be used in the South African context. Simple rich is a word that we love using, and really that simple rich, you know, it encompasses the AssetMap client experience positioning to be able to show something that is simple enough to be understood with all the richness and the depth sitting in the background. And we're going to apply that simple rich philosophy to estate planning, which we're quite excited about. And the last one is, Adam often uses this, and it's something that we've adopted as well, is we are here to serve. And that's sort of the philosophy that we have in the engagement with you, who are our clients. And yeah, so what we're going to end this off with is something that we know you also serve your clients, and hopefully something that you'll find useful to share the love with your clients and beyond. All right, so we're going to kick straight into it. So the first thing that we want to land on is just to highlight to you the security steps that we've taken this year to secure your client data. So obviously data security is a top priority at AssetMap, and you may or may not have known that the data used to sit, South African client data used to sit on Amazon Web Services in the US in March this year in anticipation of Poppy, and all of that client data was moved from the US to Amazon Web Services in Ireland, which is governed by GDPR regulation, which really means that your client data is safe as houses. And it also means that your obligations from a Poppy perspective are met. So basically, the two things that you need to worry about is where is your data hosted. So your data is hosted in this GDPR territory, which exceeds Poppy's expectations or requirements. And secondly, you're contracting with us through the T's and C's in the subscription. Those are the two things that ensure your alignment with your obligations from a Poppy perspective. So you guys get a big green tick. Yeah, and that's sort of the start of our journey of South Africanizing AssetMap and getting to this point of, you know, we've got this awesome global technology for South Africans. Right, the next thing I wanna show you is, and this is something which has been coming for some time, which I'm super excited about, because Yaku, I have hidden Boerewors in the AssetMap platform, and you're gonna have to find it. So how has AssetMap taken steps to be more and more relevant for South Africans? I showed this page to Benny yesterday, and he looked at this. He looked at this as jy vrek, and he was a bit like shocked. You know, Benny's, if you didn't know, he's also Afrikaans, and he was saying that fracking is something other than humans do. So I apologize if that's offensive in any way. But if I make an asset map for my parents, you know, we talk about fracking all the time. So I thought that would be relevance for relevance So what has happened? We've implemented a whole bunch of home improvements in AssetMap. So right across the platform, and this is a picture of the retirement landscape. I think you probably don't even see it anymore. Things like IRA, Roth, SEP, 401k, 403b. You know, from a South African context, obviously these are funny words, although the concepts are familiar. So we've gone through the platform with a fine-tooth comb, and we expect you will find no more funnies. Kirsty, can I confirm that it is true as of immediately?
It is true, and it is live.
Okay, that's awesome. So when you go back into AssetMap, I challenge you to have a look for 401k, and in its place you shall find things like familiar terms to us like retirement annuity, pension fund, provident fund, preserver, blah, blah, blah. All of the stuff that we can all relate to and be happy in our very South African way. So that's the retirement space. Similar thing with life insurance. The concepts are relatable. You probably don't even see them anymore, but they're not South African words. So property and casualty, universal life, variable universal, and we often get calls like saying, well, which one do I choose? What's variable universal, and what's this, and what's that? So all of that's gone. What it's been replaced with is a whole bunch of stuff which hopefully is a lot more familiar. So life cover, either term or whole of life, disability, severe illness, short-term insurance, all of the normal language that we speak as South African planners. So big tick on the insurance side. On the legal entity side, again, I mean, the number of calls about what's a revocable trust, what's an irrevocable trust, which corporation do I choose? Gone, all gone. New stuff, private company, CC, public company, all of the stuff that we are more familiar with. And I just feel like that is awesome. And Kirsty obviously played a massive part in that. So we're all really grateful to the effort that Kirsty put into this change. And it's something we've been waiting for 2 years. So happy days.
Lots of excitement there, Gary, about those changes.
Oh, is it? Okay, cool. Okay, that's brilliant. That's really brilliant. So, I mean, it doesn't stop there. I didn't want to bore everybody with a shopping list of all of the changes, and there were many changes. So I think you'll be happy to see that there's a whole bunch of language improvements. And as I say, Boerewors is somewhere in the platform. So it's going to be a whole bunch of kudos to the person that finds it first. We'll put you at the top of our email newsletter. Alrighty. So moving on, and this is really getting to the guts of, you know, what is it that makes a tool a South African tool, and what is it that makes your value proposition a South African value proposition? And this is, yeah, and I think you can. Yes, Benny. Welcome, Benny. Did you have a nice sleep in this morning? You can brush your hair now that you're looking at yourself in the mirror. Now, Benny, I'm just starting on the sample maps. And I think even when we sat back and we were thinking, what is it to be a South African technology? You know, it's not simply the words, it's not simply about where your data is hosted, but I think it's about how does it facilitate a South African conversation? How does it facilitate a South African value proposition? And how does it drill into, you know, a value proposition that isn't a generic thing? Like, I am a holistic financial planner, or I am a wealth planner. You know what? Because a wealth planner is equally somebody in the UK or equally somebody in America. And I think this really starts to unpack. And I don't think it's the end point, but it's certainly a starting point to drilling down into your value proposition and to saying, what do I do for my clients? So if I were to show a picture to a prospective client of what I do for my clients, what my value proposition is for my clients, is it a single picture? Is it something that says I do insurance and I do investments and I do estate planning? Or is it something which is even more particular to who that individual is? So is a single person, is the advice and is the conversation that you're going to have with a single individual the same conversation that you're going to have with a family? And is it the same conversation that you're going to have with a retiring couple? And our sense is that it's not. So the sample maps are a representation of your conversation, of your value proposition that you have with specific people through the eyes of people like me or people like you. So what is the sample map? So the sample map really is a piece of collateral. It is a piece of collateral for you to show your prospective client or your existing client what it is that you do for them without telling them. So it's a piece of paper you can whip out of your backpack, or it's something that's printed on the back of your business card. And when somebody says, "What do?" You don't rattle off an elevator speech or a paragraph out of a quote out of something. You pull out your map and you say, "This is what I do for clients like you." And you start working your way through the map to unpack your value proposition for that client. So yeah,
Gary,
Ben.
So if I can just, I can't help but to jump in. And first of all, I'm really apologies again for being late. But I mean, we know as an industry, we've grappled with this thing for so long. What is my value add? And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's because we keep on thinking about it generically. I am professional. I give good service. I do comprehensive financial planning. Look, it's all about me. And of course, there's how many 5,000 other CFPs and 20,000 professional advisors all doing that. The differentiation of your value proposition lies in who the client is. Like, do you really understand that client? And how do you make your advice relatable to that? And I mean, we've seen amazing examples of that, and I'm sure you're going to cover some of them. And yeah, and I mean, it's always the funniest thing for me when I speak to financial planners. In the beginning, they go like, I ask them, like, okay, so what do you talk to this client about? And then they'll start talking, and I'll just be completely amazed. And I'll say, just stop, that's amazing. And they'll say, but look, what was amazing about it? I said, like, the way you framed how you approach this client. And they'll say, but don't all planners do it like that way? And I'm like, no, I deal with planners every day for years, and I've never heard somebody that approaches a client in this particular way. So that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, love that. Thanks, Benny. Yeah, and I think also, regardless of whether it's a new client or you're trying to explore new possibilities with existing clients, to tell existing clients that story through the eyes of people like them opens up those opportunities to take your conversation in different places. So, I mean, that leads me into the sample map experience. What is this experience about? And I'm reminded I looked through the archives of a couple of videos yesterday, and I was reminded of a school teacher that taught me this about kids. You know, if this my fist is a representation of the human brain, the four fingers at the front here represent the prefrontal cortex. And when the prefrontal cortex is in control, we're in a good space for thinking, we're in a good space for problem solving, we're in a good space for working through and exploring. Behind the prefrontal cortex, the thumb here, this is the limbic system. And when the limbic system is in control, we want to run. We want to run, we want to fight, we want to flight, we want to be defensive. And this sample map experience helps clients to stay in this thinking brain, not in crazy brain. You know, and if we think about why does a sample map, why does it elicit that sort of experience? It's pretty simple. I mean, it's pretty simple. And we've got a maybe not appropriate acronym, but like my wife would like it, PEDI. She used to do lots of PEDI. She'd come home in the evening and tell me she smells like feet. She was a beauty therapist. But anyway, the P stands for possibilities. So when you put a picture of a family, or you put a picture of a household, like the person that you are sitting in front of, and you show them and you tell them the story of this household, what that does is open up possibilities. It opens up neural pathways for new possibilities in that advice conversation, because clients come into a conversation with an expectation. And maybe that expectation is, oh, he wants to sell me something. Or the expectation is, yeah, I've really got to sort out my retirement planning. Or the expectation is, gee, I'd better show me performance or I'm out of here. So you knock all of that out of the ballpark the moment you ground the conversation in, this is what I do for this family. And all of a sudden the client will sit there and say, okay, well, I've got to tell you about my mother-in-law. I've got to tell you about, yeah, I've got kids, I've got stuff. The second one is the E. So the E is for empathy, and showing your empathy, showing your understanding for clients like them is a really important part of keeping your clients in this thinking brain and not flipping into crazy brain. And I think we often overlook how vulnerable clients are in that advice conversation. You know, so we expect of them, you just tell us stuff, you know, what's your salary, what's your, I don't know, like, what's your life savings, all of this sort of stuff. And without that sense of empathy, clients can very, very easily flip into crazy brain. The D stands for demonstrate, and demonstrating your value proposition. So your 360-degree household, whatever it is that you do for this specific client. And that's, again, how do you deliver advice to this specific client? And the last one is intimidation. So the I stands for intimidation. And working with a sample map just breaks down that intimidation factor with clients. So again, instead of starting with a portfolio schedule, where your client now feels like, okay, you know, I've got to defend why I am where I am, you know, we take that off the table and we say, don't worry about that. Let's look at this. You know, so both of you are looking at another picture and working through that to understand new opportunities and to understand where this conversation can lead to. So that's PEDI. Yeah, and again, regardless of how you work, and I mean, I'm sure we'd all still love to have a whole bunch of face-to-face meetings with paper, and maybe you still are. Many I think have gone in part at least to completely remote meetings like this. But I mean, you want to have a sample map accessible. So you never know when you're going to find yourself in an occasion where somebody says, so tell me, what do you do? Now you want to talk about your value proposition. So you want to have an accessible sample map when you're sitting on the plane and the guy next door to you says, so what do you do? And you pull out a map and you say, well, this is what I do. And the same thing when you're sitting in a remote meeting, you want some accessible sample map. So you want some shortcuts saved on your desktop that are immediately accessible, that you can pull up and you can immediately start talking to. This is my value proposition, without saying those words, of course. So I'm going to jump straight into, again, how we see asset map helping South African conversations. And we have created some sample map examples for you to start the thinking process with you. And you can use them as they are. Maybe they're perfect for your target market. But we would challenge you to change them, to make them suit your value proposition, and to make brand new ones. So I'm going to jump straight into an example here, and we can work through it together to see how does the sample map keep the client in thinking brain and not flip him into crazy brain. So yeah, so this is a sample map of a young family, and I'd like to introduce you to the Jetsons. So this is Neil and Lauren Jetson, and Mr. Client, Neil and Lauren Jetson. They're 35, much like you are. They've got a young son, and I'm sure just like you, they feel overwhelmed by all of the information that gets thrown at them. And it's not just information, it's really complex information. So I'm sure you can relate to that immediately. And I mean, look, I can also supply you all of this detail, but what I undertake to do is to put all of that detail onto a single page that we can work through together and stay on the same page. So it's a visual representation of your life so that we can both work off the same point, and I can apply my skills and technical abilities to help you elevate the important things and make the important decisions that you need to. So that's sort of like how do we introduce this thing? And these are people like you, and let's run through who these people are. So this is the couple, Neil and Lauren. They have a 7-year-old son. They also have a mother-in-law that lives with the family. And then we can work through the items on the map. And it doesn't have to be at a granular level, but we can work through to say, at the top of the map here, they've got a whole bunch of solutions in place should something bad happen to the primary couple. So should they become disabled? Should either of them die? Should they catch a severe illness? They've got a whole bunch of solutions up here to kick in the event of something bad happening. Neil, you can see, is a young professional. He's a technologist at a tech company. He's accountable for most of the expenses in the household. He started saving for retirement. He's got about $1 million in retirement savings. There's also a bunch of accessible savings that he has. He likes playing the stock market, so he's got a solution for that. You can see he's got quite a bit of debt outstanding, so debt is certainly something we want to help this family with. He's got a student loan, still a home loan. They own a home together. We're busy having a conversation to understand what structure would be in place should either or both of them die at any given time. This is Lauren. Lauren is an estate agent. She's also started saving for retirement. She's anticipating an inheritance at some point from her mother. And there's also a bit of debt, which is outstanding. So I'm telling the story of the Jetsons. And at the same time, I'm speaking really specifically to the value proposition that I table for people just like you. And the next part of that value proposition is I show this family how funded they are for each of the important goals that they have in their life. So at a snapshot, we look at this every single time we meet, and over time we try and close the gaps between what you want and how funded you are for that. So you can see very quickly they're worried about Neil dying or becoming disabled. They're worried about how dependent the mother-in-law is going to be on them, retirement and education. So I mean, just stepping out of this picture for a sec, the key thing that we're trying to do here when we're speaking about this story to either one of your existing clients or to a new client is we're trying to keep the brain from flipping out of thinking mode into crazy mode. And really what we're trying to open up the possibilities. So if the client came in thinking, gee, I'm going to talk about performance, you know, we've just said this is the scope of our conversation. From an E, so the empathy point of view, we highlighted challenges, we highlighted, we showed understanding of walking the journey with Neil and Lauren, which puts that client in this position of like, oh. I demonstrated specifically the value proposition that I give to the likes of Lauren and Neil. And finally, the intimidation factor, just because we're not talking, you know, I'm not nailing the prospective clients, you know, based on their portfolio statement. I'm not nailing them. I'm actually saying, look, this is the scope of the conversation that we want to have. Benny, Kirst, do you want to add anything?
Maybe just one point. I mean, I really like that showing clients sample maps of people like them shows your value proposition in a way that's more personal and relatable. So it's not, this is what Gary does. It's, this is what Gary does for young families like me or business owners like me. And I think that creating that personal link to it's people like me is what really sets it apart by showing it using a sample map. So I really like that.
And if I can just add to that, I think it's so, I mean, it's so easy sometimes for us to assume clients understand stuff. But, you know, like, so for example, if we go through that family and let's say there's a will, you know, and I know you just went through it very quickly, but clients know they need to have a will, but they don't have, or it's not up to date. And so what's also important, not our value proposition is not just about like, yes, we're going to put a will in place for you, but how are we going to do that? And so it's part of what we can say, listen, this is the process we're going to follow. We're going to sit together and go through your objectives and make sure that's reflected in your will. We'll involve an attorney if it's necessary. You know, so I think it's important that it's not just you need to have a will or I'll help you with a will. It's how am I going to do that? How am I going to help you to make sure your insurances remain up to date? How are we going to help you to make sure your investments deliver the return that you need?
Yeah. Okay, thanks, guys. So yeah, these are a couple of the sample maps that we've created to share with you guys. So we'll email the PDFs today, I expect. And yeah, I think the primary thing is we don't know your clients, so we know generically what a young professional looks like, what a young family looks like, what a small business owner looks like. but you've got to take these things. If you're lucky, maybe they match your clients, but it's unlikely. So you've got to work with these sample maps to match your clients and to match your value proposition with your clients. So we've got a young professional, we've got a young family, which you just had a look at. We've got a small business owner. We've got a single parent, and we've got a corporate executive. Yeah, and then of course, the capability within the platform, the all important one is for you to make your own one. And we'll work through, over the next few months with you to help you to get that together and to help you to embed these sample maps into your practices. So that's our intent. So we'll challenge you, and you challenge us to help you. We'd love that. All right. So moving on to the next part of what makes this global tech become even more South African. We're going to frame estate planning in the context of Simple Rich. So in the context of what AssetMap does really well is deliver this advice conversation, which is really rich in a way that is simple and that clients can relate to it. And estate planning is especially, one of these spaces where clients are they're fuzzy, they don't get it, and we love it because it's very technical. So just to put up the Simple Rich experience from a target maps point of view. So this is the experience that we'd like to put out for clients, and to say, look, if you die, there are a couple of things that we need to make provision for. So if you die, there are going to be some costs associated with death, and we can put those into a target map. Then we're also going to say, we want to provide so that your family can continue with the lifestyle that they are accustomed for the rest of their lives. So these are two things, and normally we mix them up together, and they're all in a big bundle, and we dump a really large number onto the client. So if we look at the costs, we can very easily say to the client, if you die, some stuff is going to happen. You may have to pay estate duty, you may have to pay your executor, you may have to pay capital gains tax, you probably want to pay off your debt, you want to have some reserves just in case. So these are all the costs that relate to your death. And we can say, based on the assets or the cash flows that you want to allocate to these costs, you are currently 51% funded for that. So that the client can relate to. This is Simple Rich, that's awesome. The next one, which is standard target map features, is I want to provide for my clients a 70% replacement ratio in the event of my death. Cool. I can see that you are on the way to funding that based on the insurance and the assets that you're going to allocate to this cost. So and this is cool. And this is now drum roll. Can I do it, Chris? So what we have created and is in the final phases of testing, Kirsty tells me, and is about to be properly launched to our fanatical subscriber base, is a calculator to calculate these numbers. So to calculate what is the estate duty payable, to calculate what are the executive fees payable, to calculate what is the capital gains tax. And that is going to live on our WORK.THAT.MATTERS website. So it will be a portal that you can log into. You can input a few simple inputs, there's a rich algorithm happening in the background, and it will spit out the numbers that you can take into AssetMap, and you can provide the simple, rich experience for your clients to which they are accustomed. Is there an applause?
Yeah.
No applause.
Yes, lots.
So as Gary said, we're testing it at the moment, and we want to refine it over time. So the key principle we're using is that simple, rich. How do we do, simple inputs on this website that does that rich calculation in the background, but provides a simple output? Because what the client wants to understand is, what are the costs that I'm going to incur, and how, maybe there's a conversation about managing that, but it's really about understanding, is there liquidity for those costs? So the thinking is, you'll be able to do the calculations on here, get the output of what is the estate duty, executives fees based on different marital types, etc., and then go and plug that into target maps to show the real client conversation, which needs to be simple, where the client can see, do I have enough liquidity to cover the costs, is one conversation, and separately, what happens with my family? Are they going to be okay if something happens to me?
Cool, thanks, Kirst. Right. Yeah, and so we're edging to the end of the presentation now, and yeah, I think this is something that we've had a lot of requests for, is what AssetMap collateral is available that we can share with clients. And yeah, this is in our paradigm of being helpful to you guys, and so that you can share the love with your clients. We have created a South African version of the Stickman video for you to share with your clients, and it's got no more 401k and no more funny business in it. So it's nice and localized. Kirsty has promised at a cost that she will brand it for you. I'm being cheeky, but we do have branded options available. It will be at a charge, because we need to recoup whatever costs will be available. Will be a part of it. So yeah, and that's just because we're not sure, we can't quote exactly what it will be, depending on the amount of customization that you'd like in the video. But yeah, if you're interested in this, you can use as it is, so it won't have any branding on it, but you can adapt it to have your logo in, and that you need to speak to Kirsty. So I'm going to show you the video. Let's hope you can hear the sound.
One of those.
Okay, well, you know the video. It's a really nice video, I promise you. Sorry about that. Yeah. That's a second gremlin for the morning. So
we'll share that video with you in the email with the sample maps today, so you'll all have access to it if you haven't seen it before. But it's a great video to show clients and use on, potentially on websites or social media, to show how AssetMap helps clients. Are you going to get it there?
No, I'll try again.
Making good financial decisions requires an understanding of our current condition, all the financial holdings we've acquired over the years, and progress relative to our goals. The challenge is that most of our financial holdings don't get the attention they need because we simply don't have time and expertise to optimize them, let alone question their place in our life. Most of us need a little help getting it all together. The truth is that other people in our household are often dependent on us and our decisions, and we just can't afford to be wrong in this department. Sometimes we could use a little help. So what if we could start by organizing all our financial decisions into one simple, rich visual, an asset map? What might we notice that's missing or out of place? Who might we collaborate with to help make better decisions? What ideas might we implement to get into a better situation? With new visual clarity, we might just make more informed decisions that serve everyone in our household. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then an asset map is worth, well, a lot more. Take some time to start your discovery and facilitate a more meaningful financial conversation.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, and then moving to wrapping it up. Again, thank you so much for your time, and we hope this has given you some insight into how this technology is evolving to be something which is even more relevant to your South African client conversations. So security, language, the maps, estate planning, and yeah, your ability to share the love. So we're very grateful for your time. Benny and Kirst, anything you wanna end off with?
Just thank you to everyone for joining, and keep sending your suggestions and feedback, and we'll keep working towards that goal on this journey. Absolutely.
I mean, it's been an awesome 2 years. We really enjoyed it, and it's great to see the progress that Asset Map is making and helping practices. That's awesome.
Right.